Wretches of the underworld, take heed.
Hello, I'm Winkers of Cardboard Bastards, your professionally miserable host, and today I'm here with my brother Scoot to talk about our latest time passer, Hades. Scoot, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi. I don't know what else I'm supposed to say.
Fair enough. This is probably little known about myself, but I have a lot of experience in the roguelike genre. I played a lot of Binding of Isaac, both the original and the sequel that came out, all the way to full profile completion. Scoot?
I have absolutely no roguelike experience, and...
That's not entirely true. Torghast.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't think anyone wants to even think about that. But,
I mean, Torghast is a roguelike experience, though.
Yeah, sure. I like the concept of getting to a new stage every couple minutes and having something new and shiny to choose from, but I wouldn't say I have a lot of experience in them. But this has been a really fun game.
So the first thing that comes to mind with Hades is that it feels good to play, right? Every time you hit something, every time you cast, every time you dash, it gives you that feel good. And that's really important in, a beat 'em up that's also repetitive. You kind of need that to keep hitting, keep punching.
It's very much a spacebar smasher. That's what I like to call it.
Yeah. There's a lot of dashing that goes on, especially when you're not sure what's going on and you got to figure the moment out.
Yeah. I really like how the bow gave you a very different play style than what you normally would with the other weapons, and some of the enhancements that you can get while playing through the game give you things that just complement the bow in a way that it doesn't for all the other weapons. It really adds a lot of really cool diversity to the game overall. The music, I'll start with that. Love the music. That was one of the initial draws for me with the game. We're gonna be jumping to a different game here pretty soon, but I was looking for something to play in the interim. I was super bored, and my brother Winkers suggested I try out Hades, and he came in and we watched the trailer, and just on the trailer alone, listen to the music, and it got me hyped to play it, and it never stops throughout the whole game. It's very action-packed, rock and roll, kicking some ass, trying to get to the end of hell or wherever you are.
Hades.
Yeah.
I mean, Tartarus, Asphodel, Elysium, etc.
Yeah.
There's a lot of names down there.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the music was great. The sound design is also, perfect. Every weapon swing sounds right. Every time you use a spell or you're attacking with something or a boss is using something against you, you really kind of feel it in the sound. And then the artwork also is just very engaging. It's not resource intensive for your computer. The game runs beautifully at all times, no matter what you're doing on the side. And it's just, it's good to look at. And that's kind of important because I feel like as far as video games are concerned, we've reached a point where we're beyond just graphics getting better. Mm-hmm. Now there's style kind of has to come in, and Hades nails the style.
These days we just want good freaking games, man.
Yeah.
Well designed, snappy, fun to play games, and this one definitely does it. I will say it kind of has an anime style to it, but
I don't think it's anime.
In a way,
I think it's definitely
it's cool,
squarely
though.
Western.
It's cool though.
But,
yeah.
I mean,
it is Western, but it's very cool.
It's been so long since there's been good Western art in anything that a lot of people are probably just going to describe it as anime.
Could be true.
I forgot something.
You're late with your report, Hypnos. Again. The dead, of course, can wait, but I'm less patient. Now explain yourself to me.
True.
And yeah, it's not just a fun game, right? It actually has a decent story, which is a weird thing to put into a roguelike. Usually when you have a roguelike with a good story, it has to have some sort of a strange twist on it. Binding of Isaac, of course, comes to mind, where it's slowly you're unraveling something, but overall it's a very simple, plain story. And then on top of that, you have all these characters, and they're all fun to interact with. Right.
And, every character that you constantly keep seeing as you keep playing through the game on different modes and using different weapons and things like that, I've been playing it well over 24 hours, and man, I haven't had a single person say the same thing twice. they just keep going and going and going, and everyone has their own storyline that you get to follow. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I personally, my favorites, Medusa for obvious reasons. Meg is a great character. Thanatos and the rivalry that goes on there is awesome, and just like the Zagreus-Hades relationship is so well done.
Zagreus is Hades' son, by the way.
Yeah.
That's the main character that you play as.
They're so angry at each other, but at no point do I think either of them actually hates the other, and that's like, they really capture a family vibe perfectly there.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, it's not a perfect game, right? There's always pain points.
Yeah.
I mean, first one that comes to mind for me specifically is sometimes you're fighting Meg or whatever first boss, and they do a dash, and you're like, I was nowhere near them. Why did that hit me? But that's a very minor problem. I mean, what is there anything that like really bothers you?
No, there isn't anything that really bothers me. But to piggyback on what you're saying, I do agree. I will say though, when things like that happen, it's a very fast-paced game. So even when things like attacks are bigger than you expect, and you didn't think you were gonna get hit, it's kind of okay because every hit is not a big deal. It's not a forgiving game, but also like there's room for error at the same time. It's very fast-paced.
Yeah, I would say the room for error is almost something you learn to build for yourself.
Right.
Is another way to put it as well, which is a plus for the game. That said, I guess I'm the only one who has complaints, but you know, I am a professional complainer. What can I say? Certain rooms in the later areas are like extremely punishing. Like the margin for error is the same as every other room, but the actual outcome for a mistake can be much more significant. I guess that's fine because they're in later areas. You'll run into a room that kind of hard counters what you're doing, and that doesn't feel the best. It also kind of coaches you into staying away from certain playstyles. Mm-hmm. Although that all is ultimately overcome with skill, so I really can't criticize it too much.
So now that I think about it, some of the pain points that I did experience early on really had to do with me thinking that certain power-ups were almost standard. But now that I'm getting better at the game and I'm actually understanding it a little more, I'm starting to mix things up even more and get more creative with my builds. And it just goes to show that, you know, some things are good for noobs, but there are other things that you can do to really just cheese the game and destroy everything.
That's true. It doesn't always offer it to you, but when it's there, eventually you really learn to spot it.
Right. You have to play through to really kind of learn what synergizes with what, but there's a lot. There's a lot that you can find. And
it's good because it's a roguelike. A roguelike really does kind of get defined by the ability for you to just pop off in a way and become super powerful. And super powerful happens and feels good because you have good bosses.
I will keep coming back, just like your stupid heads.
The boss design in this game, pretty fantastic.
Really good.
It was... The first few times I ran into most bosses, they really had me, like, in a bad way.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, I really started to get a feel for what they do and how to deal with them. And as you get that general knowledge built, you realize that some of the things that you thought weren't going to work for a boss fight are actually fine. You just needed that understanding to back it up.
For me, starting out with the bosses, I'm your classic noob with these kind of games, but one of the things that I'm guilty of doing is just dashing around everywhere constantly like a freaking madman, hoping that I'll do some damage and not get into trouble. Meanwhile, I'm kind of killing myself, but the boss isn't really hurting me because you have to be careful about where you're standing. And over time, I've started to harness and not get too spacebar happy dashing around and actually get a feel for the different attacks that the bosses do and when to anticipate them and how to counter them. And once you learn how to do that, you even learn how to use your power-ups more effectively too.
Yeah, I've actually, I mean, I go hang out with Scoot a lot and I'll watch him play. And when he started, he needed a good dash. That's all I'm going to say.
I sucked.
But he's starting to whoop a lot of ass now. Very controlled play style. He's seeing what they're doing and he's like kind of acting in advance before they even start doing it half the time. And that's a big part of these types of games. Any sort of beat 'em up, you really have to know what's coming.
Right.
Which is what makes it a good formula for a roguelike, I think.
It's easy to come into the game and be very trigger happy because it is very fast paced, and dodging is a huge part of it. Actually, one thing that I really kind of compared it to with my lack of roguelike experience when I first started playing this was actually Elden Ring. So in Elden Ring, you want to dodge constantly. I mean, you get the hang of like when to dodge and how the mechanic really works with actually making guys' abilities miss you. once you get the hang of this, it's kind of the same way. Dodging is an essential part of the game, but you learn how to use it effectively. But I will say the dodging is, amongst other things, it's one of the coolest parts of the game for the combat. They did a really good job with making it feel really cool.
Fuck Theseus, though.
Fuck Theseus, yeah.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Don't
He's
like that boss.
kind of an asshole. He's annoying.
I've had some builds where he was pretty easy, but generally
for me,
rough.
he's always easy now, but I kind of just don't like him at the same time. I want to talk to Asterius, and he always cuts me off. What the fuck's that all about?
Yeah, and everyone always says different things. Theseus he's never had anything good to say. We're still waiting for that one.
Yeah, we're working on that one. Damn, man, it's bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hades is a game with a lot of longevity, especially when you factor in its $25 price tag, which I don't know what it was when it released. I feel like it hasn't changed much. As of the time of us recording, the game is actually on sale on Steam right now for $15. So if I get this out quick enough, I get off my ass. Think about it if you haven't played it, because this is a game I feel no one should miss.
Highly recommend.
100% hits everyone. The game, guaranteed, you're going to get at least 10 hours of gameplay out of this. So that's $2.50 per hour, or $1.50 if you get it on sale.
I'm the kind of person, I fall into gaming slumps where I just get bored of everything and I can't find something to play for weeks at a time. And Winkers told me to try this out, and I checked it out, and man, I was addicted I still kind of am, but like it's a trip for at least the first 20 hours, I would say.
Yeah, and I'm gonna guess there isn't a roguelike enthusiast out there who hasn't heard of and played this game. But if you are a roguelike enthusiast who hasn't played this game, you've probably got hundreds of hours of gameplay here. I mean, they give you the tools. I don't want to spoil anything because progression in these games is really a lot of fun, but they give you the tools to keep making things harder, almost in like a very direct... I don't want to call it infinite, but man, does it seem like it'll go pretty hard.
It does. With our brother I mentioned earlier visiting for Thanksgiving.
The third brother.
Actually, we convinced him to get the game as well, and a big selling point for him watching us play it was that it's very much like Diablo or Path of Exile and things like that.
Yeah, for a channel that talks a lot about those games, it actually kind of scratches the itch in a way.
It does.
It's very different, but at the same time, it's that top-down, almost an isometric viewpoint, and it's quick action.
Right.
If you like flame dashing all over the place in Path of Exile and rattling off your skills while fighting a hard boss, you're going to love Hades. You're going to feel the same thing, except honestly, it's a smoother experience, better built for the combat.
And it's going to be a freaking challenge. You're not just going to be farming gear. I mean, it's a different kind of motivation to play.
So, I'm Winkers.
And I'm Scoot.
And this was Retrospective Bastards on Hades.